Most men spend their entire lives trying to be chosen. They improve themselves, dress better, make more money, become funnier, more emotional, more available, and still, somehow they end up alone or taken for granted. And here's the part no one tells you. It's not because they weren't good enough. It's because they were playing the wrong game entirely. You see, women don't fall for the man who tries the hardest. They fall for the man they cannot figure out. Not the man who gives the most, but the man who makes them feel the most. And those are two completely different things. What you're about to hear isn't comfortable. It won't be wrapped in softness or sugar. Because the truth about female psychology, real attraction, real obsession, it doesn't live in the world of romance movies or dating advice. It lives in the shadows, in the spaces between what she says and what she actually feels. Machiavelli once wrote that the world is governed not by what is real, but by what appears real. And that principle, 5 centuries old, still rules every relationship you've ever been in or failed at. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding human nature so deeply that you stop being invisible and start becoming unforgettable. Watch every part of this, because once you understand these 9 dark truths, you'll never look at attraction the same way again. Here is the first truth that most men refuse to accept. A woman's attraction is not triggered by how much you care. It is triggered by how little you need her approval to feel complete. Think about every man a woman has ever chased in her life. The one she couldn't stop texting, the one she cried over, the one she kept going back to even when her friends told her not to. Was he the most giving? Was he the most emotionally available? Was he the one who dropped everything the second she called? No, he was the one who had a life she wasn't fully part of, the one who made her feel like she had to earn her place, the one who was genuinely indifferent. Not fake indifferent, not pretending, but a man who was so rooted in his own world that her presence was a bonus, not a need. This is what Machiavelli understood about power. The moment you need something from someone, you hand them control. The moment she knows you need her validation, her attention, her love, she stops craving yours. But the man who can walk away, the man who can say nothing and mean everything with just his silence, that man becomes a puzzle she cannot stop solving. Here is the second truth, and it builds on the first. She is not testing you because she wants to catch you failing. She is testing you because she is searching for a man who won't. Every pull away, every sudden coldness, every mood shift you can't explain, it is not confusion, it is examination. She is measuring your emotional foundation. She wants to know, does this man collapse when I create pressure? Does he chase when I withdraw? Does he explain himself when he doesn't need to? Because if you do, she knows you're soft ground, and no woman builds her deepest trust on soft ground. The man who holds his frame through every test, who doesn't panic, who doesn't over-explain, who simply remains, that man passes every test without even knowing one was given. And she doesn't just feel attraction for him, she feels safe with him. And safety, for a woman, is the most powerful aphrodisiac that has ever existed. Here is a truth so simple most men walk past it every day without seeing it. You become more powerful the moment you disappear. Not permanently, not cruelly, but strategically. The moment you stop being constantly available, you become something she has to think about. And the moment she has to think about you, really think, when you're not in the room, when you haven't texted, when you're just gone, that's when you enter her psychology. Because the human mind doesn't obsess over what it has, it obsesses over what it can't fully grasp. Presence without mystery is just furniture, comfortable, familiar, ignorable. But absence makes her brain write stories about you. It replays your last conversation. It wonders what you're doing, who you're with, whether you're thinking about her. It creates an emotional narrative where you are the main character and she is the one trying to understand you. You didn't have to say a word, you just had to leave space. This is not about playing games. This is about understanding that humans are built to pursue the unresolved. Give her full access, full availability, full transparency, and you satisfy the curiosity before it becomes obsession. but leave something unknown, something unsaid, something unreached, and that curiosity never dies. It turns into a hunger. Now here is the fourth truth, and this is the one most men get catastrophically wrong. Desire is not built in presence, it is built in the gap between presence and absence. Most men believe the more time she spends with them, the more she'll want them. So they're always there, always texting back, always available for calls, always saying yes. And slowly, without realizing it, they become background noise. Not because she stopped caring, but because the nervous system stops producing dopamine for what is guaranteed. Dopamine, the chemical of desire, of wanting, of craving, is only produced when the outcome is uncertain. When you are always there, the outcome is certain. When you occasionally vanish, when you sometimes don't answer, when your presence has to be earned, suddenly her system doesn't know what to expect. And in that uncertainty, the craving begins. Not for a text, for you. Most men think the way to a woman's heart is through words. Better conversations, funnier jokes, deeper emotional confessions. So they keep talking. They explain their feelings. They pour out their thoughts. They try to build connection through volume. And slowly, without knowing it, they make themselves ordinary. Because words are everywhere. Every man she's ever known has used words. Words to impress her, words to flatter her, words to convince her he's different. But silence, real, intentional, controlled silence, that is rare. That is powerful. That is the fifth dark truth. The man who speaks only when he has something worth saying becomes someone worth listening to. Every word he says lands heavier because she knows he doesn't waste them. His compliments hit differently because they're not constant. His opinion matters because he doesn't give it freely. Silence is not the absence of power. Silence is power. It is the container that gives your words weight. When she says something provocative and you smile quietly instead of reacting, you win. When she expects an explanation and you offer none, you win. When she goes cold and you go colder, not out of anger but out of indifference, the entire dynamic shifts in your favor. Because the man who doesn't react to bait is a man she cannot control. And the man she cannot control is the man she cannot stop thinking about. Here is the sixth truth, and it is the one no one talks about. You are not memorable because of what you gave her. You are memorable because of how you made her feel about herself when she was around you. Every interaction leaves an emotional residue. Most men leave a residue of warmth, of comfort, of safety, and those feelings are pleasant, but they don't keep her awake at 2 a.m. The man who leaves a residue of mystery does. The man who said something that made her question herself, not cruelly, not harshly, but with the quiet confidence of someone who sees her clearly. He lives in her mind long after the conversation ends. One precise observation, one calm sentence that names something she's never been called out on. One moment where she realizes this man is actually paying attention, not to her beauty, not to her performance, but to the reality behind both. And she is never the same around you again, because she has never been truly seen. Most men look at women, almost none of them observe them. And the man who observes her, really observes her, without needing anything from her, that man becomes a mirror she keeps returning to. Here is a truth Machiavelli understood about human nature that modern psychology has spent decades trying to explain with science. People don't value what comes easily. They value what costs them something. Not money, not gifts. Emotional investment, the feeling that they had to earn something to receive it. When a woman has to work for your attention, not because you're withholding it cruelly, but because your attention is genuinely selective, it becomes valuable to her in a way that freely given attention never can be. This is the seventh dark truth, and it is about how you give. Rewards must be rare, must feel earned, must arrive unpredictably. When she is warm, loyal, respectful, you give her something small, a genuine compliment, a moment of real connection, a look that makes her feel chosen. Then you pull back, not dramatically, just naturally. You return to yourself, and she is left holding that small piece of your attention, wondering when the next one is coming. This is not manipulation. This is simply the architecture of desire. Casinos are built on this exact principle. Not because the reward is large, but because it is variable, unpredictable, always possible, never guaranteed. Your presence should feel the same way. She should never be able to predict when she fully has you. Not because you're cold, but because you have a world of your own that doesn't revolve around her responses. The eighth truth builds directly on this. The man who has a mission makes every woman feel like a choice, not a destination. Nothing is more magnetic than a man who has somewhere to be, a man who is building something, a man who is so locked into his own purpose that time with him feels like being let into something exclusive, not given out freely to anyone who shows up. Most men make women the center of their lives. They orbit her world. They adjust their plans for her. They drop their goals when she calls. And she watches this happen, and something inside her loses respect without being able to name why. Because women do not want to be the most important thing in a man's life. They want to be important to a man who has important things in his life. There is a difference, and she can feel it in every interaction. When she knows your mission comes first, she stops taking your time for granted. When she knows you have standards you won't abandon for comfort, she starts working to be worth your standard. When she knows you have a world she hasn't fully entered, she wants in, not because you pushed her away, because you had somewhere to go. Here is the final truth, the one that ties every other truth together. The man women can never fully forget is not the most handsome. He is not the richest. He is not the one who said the most beautiful things. He is the man who never begged. Not for attention, not for love, not for one more chance, not for her to understand, not for her to stay. He simply lived at a level, held a standard, and when she fell below it, he let her go. Not with anger, not with tears, just with a quiet, devastating certainty that said, I value myself more than I fear losing you. And that is the ninth dark truth. The most powerful thing a man can communicate to a woman, not with words, but with his entire existence, is that he was complete before she arrived, and he will be complete after she leaves. Because love built on need is a transaction. Love built on choice is an obsession. When she knows that you chose her but didn't need to, every moment she has with you feels earned. Every piece of your attention becomes a gift she doesn't take for granted, and the thought of losing it, that thought never fully leaves her mind. This is what Machiavelli understood that most men spend a lifetime missing. Power is not about taking. It is about becoming something that cannot be easily replaced or forgotten. It is about making your absence louder than your presence, your silence heavier than your words, your withdrawal more instructive than any argument you could ever have. You don't fight for her respect. You carry yourself in a way that makes her afraid to lose yours. You don't chase her love. You build a life so rooted, so purposeful, so unshakable that her love becomes the natural response to being near you. 9 truths, not 9 tricks, not 9 manipulation tactics. 9 principles about human nature that the most powerful, most unforgettable men in history understood, and that most modern men have never been taught. The man who is feared cannot be taken for granted. The man who controls his image cannot be easily read. The man who is both lion and fox cannot be predicted. The man who plants doubt stays in her mind. The man who rewards slowly and punishes fast is never ignored. The man who observes deeply and speaks rarely becomes impossible to forget. The man who disappears without drama creates longing without trying. The man with a mission makes every moment with him feel like a privilege. And the man who never begged, he is the one she thinks about in every quiet moment when no one is watching. That's not a game, that's gravity. The kind you don't see, but you feel in everything. Now go build that man, not for her, for yourself. Because when you do, she'll never be able to explain why she can't look away.